Okay then, so welcome back everyone. Looking at, for the next, again, 50 minutes or so, an update on CPOMS, which is quite brief, and then a little bit of Q&A and some guidance on our statement writing and the information that we're inputting into CPOMS. As always, online safety and etiquette. Just make sure that your background is decent, that you are in a decent and professional position, and that you are happy with the facility we're using on Teams today. So if you can leave your camera on and you're happy for that, then great. If you're not, then feel free to communicate through the chat bar or raise your hand if you want to speak. If I miss your hand, apologies, but please just interrupt and join in. All right, cool. Okay then, so as always, let's get warmed up. Kind of initial task one, just 3 minutes, just a few minutes. On a piece of paper, post-it, old Christmas card, okay? Clearly annotate one positive that CPOMS has brought to your role, okay? And then one aspect of CPOMS that could be improved. Okay, so we're looking for one positive for your role now that we've used it, and one aspect of CPOMS that you think could be improved. All right, when you've completed this, hold this up so everyone else can read and review what you've got at your screen. So, Christina, with CPOMS, what this is our online system which allows us to record and report against candidates and staff that need additional support through safeguarding. So if they've got issues going on at home, in their life, if they need some external support from us that we can guide, we have to be able to write that down and record it as a duty of care. Whoa, okay, cheers Matthew, thanks Matt, cheers Emma. Effective communication and evidencing, good efficiency.
Mine's in the chat bar.
Yours is in the chat bar. Radio Lisa. Matthew Wilmot, can you bring that forward a little bit, mate? I can't quite read it. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, been about the students. Check. Okay, interesting. It makes you, thanks you, Mike. It makes you focus more on their well-being. Yeah, good. Thanks, Laura. Lovely. Okay, good. Difficulty navigate. Okay, yeah, Mike. Understandable. Good. And where's the chat? Apologies, Lisa. Yeah. So Julianne, positive allows everyone to be aware of things that are going on with Hannah. Thank you. Adding new students is a bit of a difficulty with the admin side to it all. So Priska, it helps you keep track of candidates' progress. Okay. Sometimes there's some tech issues for Lisa. Amy, first to report, hard to write, I felt. Okay. All right, good. Thank you. It's a good start. Okay, so looking at those things now in the context of it all, we have already started. Our aim is to review and refresh our understanding of CPOMS statement writing and its importance. Okay, so across the outcomes that we're looking at today in particular, we want to describe what's required within accurate statement writing. So we'll have a bit of a heads up on that. Identify the importance of completing a 360 practice. So it's that full circle kind of process that we have involved. Identify CPOMS for positives. Okay, and then identify best practice where we can. All right, as always, we will have a few minutes at the end or facility for us to be able to add questions to discuss or if you want to throw them in as we go through, it may be easier for you. Please feel free. All right. As always, guys, we're drilling this home now. So can you rate your ability? So 1 to 5. Okay, 5 being highest, high ability, in completing the outcomes A to D. So stick that in the comments box this time for us. So A would be 2, B would be 3. Okay, and just write those into the comments box. Okay, thanks guys. Mike, Matt, Matthew, Julianne, brilliant, thank you. Yeah, Amy, Hannah, yeah. Thank you, Emma Graham. Wonder if Priska is going to be able to do analysis on this from a functional skills maths. So you can also here as well identify in sessions, guys, that using a way to initially assess, like we did in the previous session on the Survey Monkey, that's private, isn't it? That's very much insular, and that's between myself and you as individuals. Using the chat box has its benefits within a group. Okay, so it may be that we would draw attention to the chat box now so peers can look at where other peers are currently. So if you are feeling like you have got people who are confident themselves but are quite self-conscious of their ability, if you've got that kind of group, then you can look at each person and kind of think, well, it's okay that I don't know that, because actually Danny doesn't know that either. And you can draw attention to that within your group to kind of put people at ease. Okay. Also, like always, initial assessments, that is there now for me to be able to draw questions. So who is coming up high on this? Who do I think would be more accurate to be able to answer a question and direct it to them in the early stages of the session? Okay. Thanks, everybody. That was nice and quick. That's good. So let's start then. Let's have a bit of a recap, a refresher. I'm glad I put this in now for you, Christina, as well, and anybody else who is new to the kind of system. It is an online recording and reporting facility. We are getting the most out of it, is fair to say. And if you are working within certain areas of our department, you may not have necessarily used this. You know about it, you've had training, but you've not used it yet. If you are working in other areas, you're probably on this every day or every other day, okay, depending on what the kind of provision you are working with and cohort you're working with, okay. But it's important to understand that we have information coming into CPOMS, and then it's also used to kick out information and reports. It's a fundamental tool in evidencing the great work that everybody is doing, all right. It is the tool that is now used for our leads in safeguarding for all our funders. And it's also a tool that has been used to demonstrate our practice for Ofsted. Okay, so this is that thread we talk about. You are very clearly holding on to that thread with two hands. You are directly inputting primary information, which has been seen by externals. Okay, so a report isn't coming in and I'm not turning it into different words. Okay, we would never want that in safeguarding. We want it to be accurate primary data and information coming through. It's also, and I'm pleased to see a lot of people wrote that on there, about efficiencies. It's providing timely information. It's giving you, especially, and she won't mind me saying it, Emma Graham, in her role, being able to be in different places at different times and still be understanding what is happening and what is going on with some of our more vulnerable candidates who are needing that extra support. Okay. All previous guidance has been saved on the CPD Padlet. All right. So again, at the end of this session, if you like, I will put the link into the chat box so you can take it. I know in the last session it was there as well. But what we do is we upload these kind of presentations and put them on the Padlet. Likewise, if we have done a recorded training session, that is saved to our YouTube channel. So don't forget about that. So you're able to go back and refresh your information. And I think, Laura, as well, that if you're new to the kind of system because you don't use it as much, you've got that as an option to go to if you can't speak to a colleague. Okay. I was one step ahead of myself there. It's already in the chat. Okay, so accurate statements then. So first question to you guys. Take a couple of seconds just to pause on this. What is required to make an accurate statement on CPOMS? So what would you come out with? What would you state? So Emma Graham, I'm coming to you in 30 seconds. And then Mr. Matty Vine, you're next. Okay. And then it's a free-for-all after that. So what is required to make an accurate statement on CPOMS? While everyone else is still churning it through, Emma, do you want to give us yours? What would you say?
Facts.
Excuse me?
We need facts, but we also at points may have to sort of use our professional judgment. So although we might not know for certain that someone, for example, is affiliated to a gang, we might have suspicions. So that's okay as well to put on.
Yeah. Okay, I like that a lot. Matty Vine, what are you going to follow up with?
I think getting as much evidence as possible, whether that be photos, whether that be screenshots of emails, of texts, filling out a one-to-one form and uploading that. I think that will just back up your point as much as you can, really. Yeah,
and I think both answers you've given me there, very experienced and constantly using CPOMS as well as dealing with safeguarding issues, hence why I went to you guys first. Jeremy, what would you clarify? I'm not saying that you would say different, but what would you say?
It asks for the time. It asks for the time and the date. Obviously, that's what input is. But I think that's really important because you know, there could be important updates that even could take place 15 minutes later, and it could be really important to clarify certain parts of the story, as the other guy said, with evidence or with facts. I think the time's really important, and I think one thing I've done is put in quotations things they've said. So when they've said it to me verbally on the phone, I put that in quotations as things they've said. So that is, it's, well,
I think that's a really good point you've made there in the way that you receive that information is exactly how you are writing it down as primary information, and you're not paraphrasing, and you are quite literally quoting that person as evidence. It's really good. Matthew, sorry, Paul, you've got your hand up. Thanks, Jeremy.
I was just going to say, you've got to be objective. You can't sort of make unprovoked assumptions because what you think might not necessarily be the truth. So it has to be as factual as you can possibly make it and avoid assuming things.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we know what assumptions make, really, and it leads from Emma's statement into Matt's statement. It's all this kind of continuation of that. It's really good that you're not putting down assumptions and your thought process. What you're not doing is you are not making an investigative comment on that. You are just putting down information on there, which is brilliant. Mike's just put here as much as information as possible, facts, and leave out the emotion. And I think that's a good word to put there, because it can be very emotive in there. And then Emma Graham's obviously put down date of births. Massively important. Thank you, Danny, as well. You just popped on the location where something's happened. Okay, whether it was via conversation or email, and anyone else who's involved as well. Really good. Okay, thanks for contributing, guys. So let's just go through in no particular order then. So personal details of the person involved. Okay, number one, straight on the hit list, date of birth. Okay, why is it so important that we have their date of birth? Well, we know that legality changes when you become an adult. So our responsibilities and what we can and can't do to support somebody changes very quickly. So if somebody is under the age of 18 or under the age of 24 and needing, as a vulnerable adult, a point of contact, next of kin, we have to inform them of certain things. So if they are saying things to us, we don't have a choice, but we cannot keep secrets, guys. We know this from our basic of basic safeguarding training, but we have a duty of care to people a little bit different if they are under the age of 18 than if they are 18 and an adult. Okay, full name, what provision they're on, their address if possible. Okay, Matty Vine, you had your hand up, mate.
Quick query. I don't know if Emma said it. With date of births, are they already on CPOMS for when they're registered?
There is a section for you to input it, but it doesn't upload it automatically. No. Okay. So if you think about CPOMS as the same as a paper-based copy, so we used to have the safeguarding incident form and allegations form, and used to have the boxes, and we used to say you need something in every box. And it's the same with CPOMS, okay? So getting their date of birth could just simply, even on a blank piece of paper, have the opening questions of nice distraction question. Come in, grab a seat, right? What? Remind me again of your surname? All right, how do you spell that? Fantastic. And are you 16? No, you're 17. When was your birthday? Brilliant. You've got that nice distracting questioning, which then gives everybody a breath, but actually you're collecting information. Okay. But yeah, good question though. Keep on coming. We need to think about the incident or the allegation details. So collate primary evidence. All of you have said this, which is brilliant. Upload documents, emails, any written notes. If you've got an original document, it will go up and scan straight on. If you've not got the facility to do it, or you're not sure how, contact your DSL, okay? Or speak to a colleague, because if you've got access to a smart device, smartphone, you can do that through the app on there, quite easy. And like has been stated there, using quotations, and Matty Vines mentioned, having a handwritten note, having an original email is very, very important, okay, as evidence. Record all the details provided to you, but don't forget, you need to record all that you have done and said to this point, okay? So if you, Danny mentioned, if you are talking to somebody who's got a bit of an issue, if you've asked them to come into the meeting room and sit down at break time and discuss it, or you've decided to go for a quiet walk around the car park and have a chat, we need to know that. State that. Because that is really good that you're doing that. Okay. But we need to give some context, because in 2 weeks' time, this might be put in front of somebody else who has nothing to do with SSG. And we need to just have a paint the picture of how things have been going. Okay. This is really, really important, this, guys. Okay. Read what you have finished recording back to yourself. If you can do it a few minutes after writing it, great. If not, do it there and then. But you need to read what you have written back to yourself. If you pose any questions, answer them before you move on. So don't click save if you're reading it through and thinking, well, I'm not sure about, or I haven't put, or I'm not quite, because all that will happen is your designated safeguard lead, your DSL, will read that and then contact you. Or like what happens with me is I read it and then I contact you guys, because we then need to make sure when it goes out, we don't need to do anything else. We just click send from CPOMS. Happy with that, guys? Good. Okay, the next thing, an accurate statement on CPOMS. We need to be thinking about reporting and actions. So categorize it. And we're getting really good at this. The more people are using it, the more people are seeing the different color categories, because that enables me to start looking at trends within certain regions. What are we looking at when we're looking at our kind of safeguarding risk assessments? Assign it to a DSL, so that's a designated safeguard lead. And that role, people in the room, Laura, you're new and you're part of this, but Christina, that role is generally a management role, and that is a person that makes very summative decisions. They make very final decisions on things, and they have gone through more experiences and more training to deal with externals such as police, social workers, caseworkers. Yes, EG, sorry. Do you want to speak?
Yeah, sorry, my mute would work. Just as a reference, because I didn't know this, but when you assign someone to CPOMS, it only lets you assign one person. So what we've been doing is it should be assigned to the tutor, because they're predominantly going to be the person who deals with that safeguarding. Yeah. You then alert the DSL. So when you alert someone of that case, you can alert as many people as you want. So that's where you can then alert the DSL. You might alert the learning support assistants. They might alert you, whoever it might be. But the actual assigning of the CPOMS can only be one person.
Yeah, really good. Thank you for that. So again, my wording on that is about assign. Well, yeah, we're looking to the alerts, and if you're not sure at the end of this, speak to DSLs or myself, and we'll walk you through it. Okay. Set the next step actions. So if you are writing something on there, even if it's a well-being and it's not a safeguarding concern at all, you're just a little bit put out, or you've got a little bit of a feeling about something that's going on, think about setting an action off the back of that. Okay, even if it is follow up with them tomorrow, or it could be a very specific smart action, and you fill out a whole action form, which then reminds you and puts a calendar in there, and it's a set meeting. Okay, what we want to try and avoid is concerned about a comment that Danny said today about how he's feeling about his health, and then leaving it, because what then that means is, right, I know you guys, and I know that whoever has written that will then be watching Danny like a hawk and accidentally on purpose bumping into him, to social distancing obviously, bumping into him and saying, how you feeling, what's happening, what you up to. Okay, an external funder doesn't see that, doesn't know that. So we've got to just be aware that we need to just be putting in place next step actions. Okay. Cool. No more questions. Good. I am looking at the comments box, guys. Okay, cool. So question 2 then. second question I'm going to pose to you. Take a few minutes to read the following welfare example and then rewrite the statement. How would you rewrite this statement? Okay. So assume that this is being put on as a welfare action onto CPOMS. So Danny was different today, so spoke to him. Okay now, but needed some space, so I excused him to leave. How would you rewrite that? What's missing from there? What would you add? What would you take away? It is hypothetical, it's made up, and I get that we haven't got all day to talk about but what this, but what that, but what this. But so what's the main things that you would write differently about that? Okay, take a couple of minutes, jot it down on paper, or if you want to keep it in your head to speak it out, and then I'll be looking for a couple of volunteers. So this is kind of I don't want to put people on the spot for the sake of it here, but if there's anybody who wants to contribute and have a go, just raise your hand and we can stick in. Go on then, Jeremy.
Actually, I'm thinking there's three things that probably need clarifying. There's it need details on why Danny was different, what different means.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And the speaking to him needs some detail. So what was said. So the spoke to him bit, I think it needs a summary of the exchange between the tutor and Danny.
Yeah.
And then I think okay now needs some clarification. So why he's okay now, what constitutes him being okay now. And then the last bit is just why he needs some space actually. And then where's he going to go?
Yeah, I agree. Brilliant. Thanks for that, Matthew. Sorry, because we've got a few Matts. Mr. Wilmot. Yeah.
The wider context. Where was it happening? What led up to the change or perceived change in behaviour? What session was going on? Was it something that made them feel uncomfortable? Was it something that they don't normally do? So like the antecedent type of like an ABC. So you have the antecedent, the behaviour, and then the consequence.
Yeah. No, I think really good points. Both good points there. Again, we're talking about this as a hypothetical, and it's a very falsified kind of statement, isn't it? It's there to tease these errors out. Let's just see here. So we need to just remember here, though, that it doesn't have to be a war and peace. We're not talking about being intimidated by writing the kind of the setting the scene kind of thing. Don't be intimidated about that. Don't be intimidated about have I written enough or not enough. Okay. We just looking at it being, like you've said there, the context around it, but then breaking down these words that we've just identified and trying to put it into a statement which doesn't leave you asking questions like you've just done there. Like Jeremy and Matthew have contributed. Jeremy very much so asked specific questions around, so what is different? What is different to Danny? I don't know what that is. And you said you've spoken. What was said? I'm not quite sure what was said. Okay. There is never going to be a perfect statement. There just isn't. Because there will always be somebody who is coming at it from a different point of view, thinking, do you know what I mean? What does that mean to you? Or how does that? But there can be a more thought out statement, if that makes sense. Okay. And I'm not saying this is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but hopefully you can see the difference from the first one to the second one. Okay, so we're looking at, he demonstrated a change in behavior today. It was withdrawn and non-compliant. So just literally three words has explained what I think is different with Danny. After speaking with him in the waiting area at break, so come to what Matthew said there, we're putting the time, the place, what environment, we're making a picture in our mind that, well, it's breakdown time, it's in the waiting area, so it's going to be quite quiet in the situation we've got. Right, okay. The breaks are normally 10, 15 minutes, so that's a good time variant there. He disclosed, and we come, Jeremy, you said earlier, quote, had stuff going on, but I'm good. It's awful English, even though it's probably the best writing I've ever done. But we write it as they say it. Okay. I asked what he needed. He replied, quote, nothing yet. Okay. So then we're looking at, look, my action. I asked him to meet me tomorrow at 3 just to catch up again. Okay. Because we're looking at tying that statement off. Okay. Any questions about the difference between the two? Is it making sense? Yeah, brilliant. And again, I don't want this to come across as if I'm like teaching you something that you don't know. You do know this. A lot of you are much more articulate in your wording than I am. But it's the understanding the reasons and the processes around a formative statement that we're writing. Cool. Sorry, just check the chat box there, Amy. Next steps, plan to do the next step. Another chat planned. Yeah, identified time and date from Beverly. Yeah. Asking probing questions and try to identify the root cause. Yeah, that's good, Mike. That situation we've got there, we need to write down the questions that we've definitely asked. Question 3 then, it's all about you guys as well. Again, take a few minutes to read the following safeguarding example and then rewrite the statement. Okay. So jot it down, write it in the...
Can't see it, Danny. It's not on the screen. I don't know.
Not on, mate. Bear with me. Is that for everybody?
I can see it.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of a time lag. I might sign out again in a minute. Oh yeah, it's back now.
Is it back now? Feel free to log out and come back in again if needs be, if it drops. So it says here, Danny made a few inappropriate remarks and statements today. So I spoke to him and asked him to leave the session. Danny stormed off and said he wasn't coming back and swore. Okay, so again, I'd like to say it's made up, but there are situations like this that we have come across in the past. But purposefully, what could we do to develop that statement? Think about the next line on that that's just been added now. What could have happened which would be useful information in the future? Because that's CPOMS, remember? We are recording so we can then report later if we need to. So in the future, if we need to look back on this, what information would be good about what happened? Yeah, that'd be good, Priska. I've seen your comment come through. Miss Guntrip, that's very good, especially within your role, thinking about that. Yeah, I see that, Matt. Okay, so let's a few comments that are coming through around. So Priska said here, write what he actually said. Okay. It seems kind of self-explanatory when we sat here like this, but in the heat of the moment, when you're writing things up and looking back on it, it's quite easy, and we do see it often, that because you're in the middle of it all, you forget to tell people that weren't there, and it's easy to kind of miss a couple of things. So important about things like a trigger. Okay, so what made him, if you did know, make these inappropriate comments? Matt's put down who was there, who else was involved, was there anybody? Amy's put in here, when the tutor spoke to him, what was said, what did Danny say, yeah, and then what made things escalate, I think you're trying to say there, Amy, about...
That wasn't me.
Escalation. Is that not you?
That's not me.
I think it might have been me.
Is that you,
That's
Jeremy?
definitely not me.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, that's good comment in there. You've put through what escalated from that point to them being leaving a session, which is really important to know. That really important. Inappropriate remarks, and what were they? The actions that were taken before asking him to leave. Really good, Laura. Yeah, definitely, to prove that you've not just exited somebody from the room, because that's what that my statement reads, that I've just exited because of that statement. Okay. Did his comments affect others in the room, and how have they been affected as well? Okay, it's good that you said that there, Mike. So again, it could have gone in a lot of different ways with a lot of different comments and statements. Just one option to writing it down could have been this. And apologies if you're offended. Okay, so looking at the statement that we've written here, so myself, I use myself as the negative always. So Danny Burke demonstrated concerning views regarding BLM today within a group discussion. See written statement from myself and EG. Okay, so I've mentioned you, EG, as the candidate, all right, for this hypothetical. So straight away, what's the severity of the statements that have been, what's the severity of this? Is it low? Is it quite serious? Are we concerned about these statements?
Yeah, it goes against what we stand for. I would say that is serious.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And again, on this made up at the minute statement here, there is limited detail in what I am writing. And the reason there is limited detail is because of that bracketed comment. If you want more information, see what I've uploaded, because I've taken a statement from the person who was offended and I've provided my statement as well, and I've uploaded it. I'm not going to write it again. It's there if you want it. Okay. An argument started between DB and another candidate, EG. Okay. Notice as well that we can initial now. We don't have to keep writing full names out. And actually, it's good if you start these statements and initial, because when I send them out, I verify who I'm sending it to, and if I have to send it through an unsecure source, I have to black it out, and I make sure it's all secure anyway. So an initials are good, plus it saves you time. Okay. DB was asked to take a timeout and return in 5 minutes. So it was mentioned already, what have we done before exiting him from the room? Well, actually, this statement says I didn't exit him from a room. What I said was, I need you just, there's the option, take a timeout. It's a planned agreement, okay? DB left the room with his bag and shouted that he was never effing coming back. And this place was, shh. You are a, and I don't know what was said because I couldn't quite hear it, okay, because it was illegible, and no one ever listens. It's always my fault. DB punched the toilet door and left site. I spoke with DB's dad over the phone and explained the situation and asked that he accompanied DB in a meeting 6:30 p.m. the next day. Okay, so we're now starting to picture what DB's actions were, what mood he was in, and you can almost paint, I know it's assumptive, but you can paint an accurate picture now of that being a very high energy, upsetting environment for people, yeah? You can also put down there that there was damage made. You can also quote that there was basically inappropriate language. But if you read between all of that, there is one little bit which, as SSG staff members, we can jump all over. What do you think that is? There's one little bit in there that he said, that DB said in his rage. So at the end of his rage, of me swearing and all the rest of it, I'm walking away at this point, it's eligible, and then no one ever listens. It's always my fault. I then explode and my aggression comes out. Think back to scale conflict cycle, when we talk about those stages that you go through. And when we get to that point of conflict, we are reflecting back in time to a memory that affects our emotion. And that emotive, blah. So letting that person leave, perfect. Go out. You're not going to do any more damage. Right, off you go. But the first thing that happened from then, I immediately spoke with DB's dad. Duty of care, spoken to, handed over. I am covered. Next step, I'm dealing with his behaviour and I'm going to listen to him and I'm going to give you a platform to tell me what's going on. Okay? In a very clear statement. Any questions or comments?
Just one there from Matt in the chat
Sorry,
box.
yeah.
Danny? Yeah.
Danny, what do you think the challenges are when applying this subject area to remote learning when you are, sorry, make it a bit bigger. We are not in the room. It's very difficult to see the signs. It is massively difficult, guys. I am not on the front line as much as you are, but we do have a lot of other things around, which is virtual. And I'll be honest to you, the people that you are working with, the fact that you are still engaging some of these people with a lot of issues that they can't control in their life is fantastic. And just engaging with them through these difficult times in lockdown and pandemics at a structured point of view is fantastic. If we were to use this very rare example, you have almost more power for behavior management at your disposal if you are confident with the technology you are using. Okay, so being able to move somebody to a different room, okay, now we've used that this morning, is a very good way of saying, take a breather, let's have a private conversation without losing the connection of everybody. It could be that you will then openly say that comment is inappropriate there, Danny. Please, can you take that as a strike, mate? We don't want that on this platform, and you mute them. If they keep ranting at you, then mute them. Okay? And then speak calmly. At the end of the day, if their behaviour, and we have done everything we can, is inappropriate and in breaking our code of conduct, then you exit them from the room. And carry on with your session, make the notes, and then follow the behavioural. Remember, it's behavioural. All right. What we're looking at with CPOMS here, okay, what makes this into a concern for us is how quickly it escalated, but then where has these views come from? We live in a very diverse and equality-based society. We know that our national curriculum and the context of our schooling is based around British values, and it's based around a message of equality and inclusion. So where are these views coming from? And if it's always his fault and he's willing to explode, there is something more going on than just this behaviour. Okay, and it comes down to we're SSG and we care. Everybody cares, but we also care about resolving these things with these guys rather than just moving them on. Okay. Right. So following on from my words. So the importance of a 360 review then. So for some people, this may be new, but actually common sense. For others, you've probably heard about it before. And it's about closing the loop. Okay. And that loop, like a carousel, could be going on and on and on several times. But you need to close that loop. If there has been an incident, there needs to be an action off the back of that. Off the action, then there needs to be a review. Did that action work? Has it made it better? Is it continuing? Are we in a better place? And then are we going round again? What is the behaviour from that? So on CPOMS, regularly, when asked, I see, this is a concern. This is the action that has been happened. Right, we're now going to do this. And now we've done this. Nothing. And there's like a month of no comments. Okay. Now, I know that means brilliant. It's worked. That person's back on track, or they're in a better place, or whatever it might be. When actually we come to report it out, it looks like nothing's been done. When we know that at the minute, we're only writing on there because we're saying, or sorry, 90% of the time we're writing on there because we're a bit concerned and we're a bit worried, or there's a negative. But being able to write a positive in there means that the 360 review will say that this action is working, or in some of our candidates' cases, it's not working. And it becomes very clear evidence for our funders or for local authority or even police that we're doing this and we've done it again and we've done it again and we're doing it again and we're doing it again. And we keep going around and review it, and that's not worked, so we're going to knock on the door. That didn't work, so we're going to send a letter. That didn't work, so we're going to do this. And it provides that evidence trail. Okay. The key thing to it is that we're increasingly likely to actually resolve the problem. We're going to get to the root cause of things, which you all do, which is why, even to this day, I am surprised that the low number of, and Emma Graham's going to kill me for this, but the low number of safeguarding incidents that we have coming through relative to the numbers we have, first of all, but then also some of the challenges that our candidates do face. And that is testament to you guys working with them at a well-being point, which is really, really important. Okay, so you're not allowing it just to drift on and escalate into something that then becomes a bit more permanent or a bit bigger or a bit more impactful. By 360 reviewing, it limits the chances, and again, it doesn't make it perfect, but it limits the chances of it being repeated again. So think, rather than safeguarding, think behaviour. If somebody acts in a negative way for behaviour, we then put an action in place. How does that person know that their new behaviour is what we want? Well, they know it by us telling them, by giving it feedback. Okay, and it's the same with safeguarding. I'm going to go back in, I'm going to revisit Danny, and like the second question was, how you feeling today, mate? You feeling good? Yeah. Well, what happened? Well, we did this, we did that. Oh, did you follow up on that phone call to that website I talked to you about? Did you do this? Did you do that? No, you didn't. Right, didn't work. Okay. Or you're feeling worse. Did you go to GP? Because you try something else and you try something else. Okay. We can signpost to specific professionals, which you all do regularly and fantastically. Greater chance of retaining the candidate. So let's think a bit selfishly now. If we retain the candidate on this side of the fence, we remain in business, which means that we are here to help more Dannys in the future. Okay. Actually, if we retain the candidate, we can work with Danny. He can still be here with us. We are still able to work with him as he gets better and improves and becomes more positive. If we don't keep him, we can't. Okay. We can evidence that we are professional in our actions and behaviours. Click of a button, like I was asked to do for NACRO learners yesterday, took me half an hour. Okay. And I was able to give several months worth of information. We can review the impact of our intervention actions to support future candidates. So now we're coming back to this morning's discussion around our quality improvement plan. Okay. And we're looking at SAR, a strength area of us. This is good evidence. We have case studies where we can say that we are happy with our support that we give our candidates when they're a bit wobbly and they're not having a great time at the minute. Well, we can support in this way and this way, and this actually works. Okay. This bit here as well. And I think that we can start to move on with this, and I'd take advantage of this. We can actually celebrate when a negative situation is turned into a positive. There is so many of these situations happen with you guys on a daily basis that I think you just get used to it, and you forget how much of an amazing, impactful job you do from the subtleties. Yes, we are educators first and foremost. That's your job. That's what you're here for. Okay. But the wraparound that you give them and the wraparound care is just beyond. And it is very much proven in how we retain our candidates and how they step forward. And then on the rare occasion when they have taken the time, they feed back to you personally and go, thank you so much for helping me get that job. Thank you so much for steering me away from that path to this path. Okay. So positives then. Let's go back to a question for you because we're just going to wrap up in a couple of minutes, I promise. What benefits do you feel there are by adding positives to a case on CPOMS? Okay. So 30 seconds, think. What benefits are there to add positives to a case in CPOMS? Matt, I've just seen your question in the comments box, my friend. I'll come to that in a couple of minutes, okay? So, rather than my voice, Emma Graham, do you want to just shout that out, what you've written?
Yeah, so like when I go to meetings about some of our students, like child in need meetings, emergency strap meetings, the professionals, it can be quite negative all the time. So you'll get people such as social workers, even like the police, and it's always negative, negative, negative. They've done this wrong, they've done this wrong, they're at risk of this. So when there's positives on CPOMS, it's really nice to be able to have, if we've got positives, to be able to talk about them in the meeting, because a lot of the time these professionals won't be aware of them. So they won't be aware, the police won't be aware that actually Danny Burke is attending every single day and is achieving everything in this qualification so far. So it's nice to be able to bring that light to their meetings, and sometimes be the only one in there to talk positively about students.
And I'm sure you'll back me up on this, Emma. When you are in those meetings delivering this, it is of a severity, and there is a lot of risk going on there for that person and the surrounding people, whether it be their family, immediate family, friends. But pretty much everyone else sat around that table is hanging on to that person with their fingertips, hoping that they can help in some way, that they can turn this into a positive. So when somebody does give a glimpse of they've improved this, or they've passed the functional skills maths, or they've been attending, albeit 70% or whatever every day, everyone in that room almost thinks, right, yeah, we will still keep going. We will still support and help with that person. Because at the end of the day, the people sitting around those tables with Emma, they're it. And if they decide no more, then that is it. And this is why the importance of what we're saying, accuracy of our statements and making sure they're factual, because if they're not attending, and if they're being, I'm trying to use professional wording, if they're negative in their behaviours and the way that they're approaching it, we need to know that as well. So Emma doesn't sit in a meeting, or Charlie or myself, and give that kind of that false perception of this person. Jeremy, I think that is you, my friend. Ensures that these positive observations and events are passed on to the candidate themselves. May help them keep in positive path. Yeah, definitely. What you need to understand, not just as SSG tutors and trainers, but also as professional educators, okay? Anything you write down about a candidate, you need to be willing to show them. So always have that stuck on your chest, ready to go. Any comment that you write or you make or you say, you need to be able to sit with them and give it that comment or give them that piece of writing, okay? That doesn't mean that it has to be positive all the time, but it needs to be professional every time, okay? And yes, definitely share these with them. That's the 360 element of it, isn't it? Think PDRs. It's the same with the PDR targets. It's the same when you think you're teaching, learning and assessment and you're giving feedback on the assignments or feedback on the work they've produced. If you sit with that person on that 360 cycle, they'll only ever improve. Okay, brilliant. So key things: demonstrates the progress of the candidate. We've mentioned that. It evidences the impact of what we are actually doing, which means that can we get more funding for more learning support assistance? Can we get more funding for different areas of the country? And that is important for Dan, important for Emma Vars. It supports reporting to externals, which is pretty much me and a massive part of what I do. Because it then just gives me the continued confidence to say and act how I do in front of them, which is we are beyond good at this. We are looked at by other people as example setters as well. Provides a clear history of events so we can show that there's been an upward trend rather than a downward trend. So I've got just a couple of examples of what I would class as best practice on this. I'm not expecting you to read it word for word. And I've tried my best to kind of keep anonymity where possible. But I just thought this is just a couple of really good examples that you might want to revisit or look at now, and the next one, and they are slightly different as well. Okay, so one is very kind of statement written, lots of dates in there. Okay, and then for the next one, this one was really good. I like this one because there was a very clear what happened. This is the statement. You can see there that there was something happened, but I'm going to write this and I'm going to write it down and I'm going to write it in this statement. Here it is. This is, and then right at the end, this is what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it right at the end. Okay, and this is why I'm going to do it actually, because I want to get this sorted. And then underneath that, we've got some very quick, short kind of updates. Had today, still open. Decided to keep it open. It's been a while. This. Gonna do it again. Oh, actually, disengaged on program, personal circumstances. So the events, although it didn't finish great, the events show that SSG and the tutor involved were bang on it. Bosh, 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 bosh. Yeah. So that report is a positive for SSG, even though we didn't get the outcome we wanted for that candidate. Make sense? I think so. Sorry, Jeremy, I'm just going to have to click this. I can see you reading through there, my friend. Sorry, I'm just going to have to click through. So looking back then to what our original aims were, hopefully, well, I believe that we have gone through and we've refreshed the understanding of CPOMS. And we've looked at statement writing in depth, really, and definitely the importance. Okay, so the ABCD, again, if you wouldn't mind, can you now rate your progress against that and just pop them in the chat box so I can print them out for later and save them? Okay, so A, it'll come up with your name already, but A, has that gone from a 4.2 to a 4.3, Miss Graham, or has it gone down? Are you even more confused than you were to start with? Hopefully not. But if you could just do that, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. Cheers, Matt. That's good. I just want to, while people are doing that, I just want to identify a question, Matt, that you wrote in there as well around has there been a significant drop in cases since we've moved the majority to remote learning? The very short answer to that, Matt, is yes. Yes, in the regards to our adults, our AEB funding learning, and also our remote 16 to 18 candidates. But there has still been 1 or 2 cases picked up. So I am confident in everything that everybody is doing, obviously, and I'm confident in our processes and the way that we're moving forward. Me and Lisa have spoke several times about how often is certain people contacted and so on and so forth. So we are happy with that. I know that Charlie and Emma are currently working on the new and updated risk assessment for our candidates for lockdown 3. So if you haven't heard already, that will be rolling out over the next couple of days to be able to catch that. The predominantly with our cases comes from, as you would probably imagine, our 16 to 18 disengaged candidates or people who are engaging with us from a kind of a background of uncertainty. But yeah, we have seen a drop in cases actually. If we had no cases whatsoever, I would be worried. That would be a sign to me to try and probe and delve in and have a look, but we're not. So I know it's nothing that you guys are or are not doing. I think it just may well be that the physicality of being able to read somebody is a lot trickier over a 2-dimensional screen than it is when you can feel the mood in the room and you can see behaviours over a period of time. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, brilliant. Okay then, guys. Well, I'm sure you're happy. That's it for me. If you have got any questions, feel free just to hang on or email me. Otherwise, I shall see you